Hello there everyone, I'm Christina of CSLdesigns and today I'm going to show you how to make this metallic stripes beaded Kumihimo necklace, and this is the one that I've made here. So what we have is two separate stripes, one is copper and one is silver, and they're separated out by these black seed beads to really help emphasize the effect, and it's running all the way along the braid structure there. And then what I've done is I've finished off the ends using these Kumihimo ends here where we can then attach our findings. Now I made this necklace to match a bracelet that I previously did, so I came up with this first. You can see it's that same effect all the way along. So this is just the bracelet version, and I thought it'd be nice to have a necklace as well that would match so you can wear it as a set. Now as for the size of this necklace here, the length of the braid itself, so the beaded part of the braid, is about 25 inches long. So obviously what you can do is you can either have it longer or shorter, it all depends on your personal preference, and I do explain in the tutorial how to do that as well. So if you want to learn how to make the necklace here to match the bracelet, then keep watching. So it's these materials here that we're going to need. First of all, I have my round Kumihimo disc because it is a round braid structure that we're making. And then to make the braid, I'm using this 0.5mm s-lon in a black colour to make it match nicely with the main beads there, just in case any of the cord shows through. And those main beads are these Edo Miyuki seed beads in opaque black, just to be a nice kind of neutral background colour for the rest of them. And those other beads are these 3mm rounds here. Now they're both metal spacer beads, but I have one in silver and then one in copper, just to give that really nice metallic effect, and especially against the black seed beads there, it's going to really make them stand out nicely. To then finish off the ends of the braid, I'm using these Kumihimo ends here where we can attach our findings to the little loops in them. So I've got locked or claw clasp and extended chain, and of course using the jump ring to put it all together. Now as always, there will be a material list and links as well in the description box down below the video, so check that out. But otherwise, let's get all the materials ready and let's get started. And then what we're going to need is 4 lengths of our cord here of about 2 meters and 30 centimeters each. And then what we do is make sure all the ends are even, and then we fold them over in half, so basically put the ends together again. So just like this here, because we need to find the midpoint, which I then have here. And then I just tie a regular knot around that midpoint to hold the cords together, and I put a piece of scrap wire around that knot there to then help pull it down through the disc. So we then need to attach the cords to the disc here. So what I've done is I've taken that knot in the middle with the wire around it and put it down through the hole in the center of the disc, and then it's coming out towards the back. That's also where the braid is going to be growing. And then I distributed the rest of the lengths into the slots like this here. So I'm not worrying about the numbers at all. I'm just really using these dots for guideline. So I put one length of cord on either side of the top dot and also around the bottom dot there, so we have pairs opposite each other. And then I've also done the same around the dots on the side, so one length of cord on either side there, and again pairs opposite each other, so they're evenly spread on the disc like this. And then we need to start the braid. The first thing we need to do is make a short section of braid before we add in any beads, so we can use that to finish it off at the end. So I'm going to take my top left cord here on the left side of that top dot and then release it to then bring it down. Stay on the left side of that bottom pair. Then I'm going to take the bottom right one and then bring that up and then stay on the right side on that cord on the top there. So now these pairs opposite each other, they're still opposite each other, but they're just slightly moved on the disc. So then turn your disc for the next pair. So a quarter, and then do the same thing. The top left one here comes down, stays on the left side, and then the bottom right one comes up and stays on the right side. Turn your disc again, a quarter for the next pair, and then we'll keep doing the same movements here, and then you can see that the pairs kind of just slowly move around the disc as we keep turning it and moving one cord at a time. So you just want to do this until we have about 1 centimeter or so of braid. So now I've braided that short section of braid, you can see it's starting to come out of the back there. That's going to be fine to finish it off with. Then we need to start adding our beads onto our lengths of cord. So this is then what the bead setup looks like, and as you can see we have all the different beads there on all the lengths of cord, but there is a set pattern to them. The only difference from one cord to the other is how they start and how they finish. Now I have taken a picture of this setup here and I put that along with the text description as well on my website. And I'm going to put a link to that in the description box below the video, so it might be helpful to go and have a look at that to properly get the beads set up correctly. But then just to explain the basic pattern here and all the lengths of cord, what we have for example is 2 Edos, 1 copper metal spacer bead, 2 Edos, 1 silver metal spacer bead, and then it keeps alternating like that. So we have 2 Edos all the way along, separated those pairs by metal spacer beads, and the metal spacer beads themselves also alternate between the copper, silver, and then it just repeats like that on all of them. And like I said, They're just different from how they start and how they finish on the different lengths of the cord. And you can then easily see on the picture and the text description on my website how that is on the individual lengths. Now if you want to adjust the length of this here, you can also easily do that. So for instance, if you want it shorter, then what you can do is just take a certain amount of beads away, obviously for the length that you want, but you just want to make sure that you take the same amount away on all of the lengths here. And if you'd want it longer than this, what you would just have to do is add more beads to each length of cord. Again, make sure you add the same amount of beads to each of the lengths, and you literally just will continue the pattern that's already on the lengths. Now as for this setup here, I've made this so this fits the way that I work with my braid. So I start with my top left one, bring that down, and then the bottom right one and bring that up. So if you start in the same way, either the top left one, or if you start with the bottom right one because they're the same as each other, then you can just set up the beads like this and you'll end up with the same result. But if you start differently, so either with the top right one or the bottom left one, because again they're the same as each other, then what you'd have to do is set up the beads here a little bit differently. And that is in a mirrored image to this. So imagine that you have a mirror in front of your disc, then you want to set up the beads in that mirrored image there. So what that means is that the top two cords, obviously not the cords themselves, just the beads set up, they would swap with each other. The bottom two, all the beads on the lengths there, they would swap sides. On the sides here of the disc, the top one on either side would swap over the middle, and the bottom one on either side would also swap over the middle there as well. And again, it's the bead setup and not the cords themselves, of course. And then if you do that, if you work in the opposite way there, then you're going to end up with the same result. But now that we've then added all the beads here, we're going to start incorporating them into the braid. So I pick my disc back up here, and then we just need to pick out the braid exactly where we left it off. So I'm going to start with my top left one here, because that's the next one that I'm due to take. Then, as I release the cord, I'm just going to release the very first bead there, let it drop all the way down into the middle, and then obviously bring the cord around. And now what you want to make sure of is that that bead in the middle goes underneath the cord that's coming out to the side here. So if it doesn't go under by itself, just tuck it in with your fingers, and then bring the cord down. And then we take the bottom right one here as the next one, and again as I release my cord, I'm going to just grab my very first bead and let that drop all the way down. And again, make sure it goes underneath the cord there that's going out to the side, and then bring this cord up into the slot on the top of the disc. So just like this here. Now turn your disc for the next pair, and you basically just want to do the same thing. So now the top left one here, as I release it, let the first bead drop down. Just one bead at a time here. Bring it down, and then the bottom right one. Just like that there. Release the cord and let the bead drop down. Right there in the middle. And then you want to turn your disc and basically repeat the same again. So always turn it a quarter like that. And then just to show you again up close, I take my top left one in this next pair. After I've turned my disc, release the cord and then let one bead drop down all the way into the middle, and make sure to push it underneath the cord going out to the side there. And then I place the cord in the bottom slot. I take the bottom right one, grab my very next bead that's available, release the cord and let the bead drop down. And again, if it doesn't go under by itself, make sure you push it under the cord going out to the side, because that's then what makes sure that these beads are going to end up on the outside of the braid rather than on the inside. Because if you don't tuck that bead under, it ends up at the top of the braid here. It's going to end up inside of the braid, which is also a nice look, but not for this design. And you just turn your disc and do the same thing. And now you want to keep repeating this, adding one bead in every time we move a cord until obviously you used all of them. So now I added in all my beads here. Then what we need to do is make a short section on this end again with just the cord, just like we did right there in the beginning. So all we're going to do is continue the braid structure just without adding beads in. Just make sure to kind of pull that nice and tight, because then it'll naturally kind of singe in here. So you just want to do the same braid structure until we have about the same length as the beginning. So now I have that little end in place. Then what I want to do is secure the end of the braid in place so we can take it off the disc here without it unraveling. So what I'm going to do is go to the pair that I was due to take next, so not the pair that I just used there. Then I'm going to take two cords that are diagonally opposite each other, release them from the slots, and then bring them over the middle there to then tie a knot with each other. And then as we tighten this, it's going to go down right at the end of the braid on top of the other cords, just put them out to the side, take the next two from that same pair, now bring them over the middle and tie a knot again, tighten that all the way down. That's going to then sit on top of the previous knot. Now we'll go to the last pair and do the same thing. So take two diagonally opposite each other, tie them across the middle and tighten that on top of the other knots now. Kind of just building some knots on top of each other here. And the final two, just get that out of the way. Again, make a knot across the middle of it. And because these are the final cords, I like to always do an extra one with them. So basically this gets a double knot. This makes it a little bit more secure rather than just a single one. It's going to come undone quite easily. So just like that, and we can now remove the disc, and this is then our braid. And this is then what my braid looks like. So all that's left to do now is finish off the ends here. So on this end, all I'm going to do is remove my wire. On this end here with all the cords, what I'm going to do is put some glue around where the cords are coming out from, cut off the excess once it's dried, because then you'll find that both ends will be ready to put on our Kumihimo ends, which then looks like this here. So these need to be attached, and obviously I'm going to use glue as well, because then we can use the little loops in these Kumihimo ends to attach our findings. So I already have a tutorial where I show how to use these Kumihimo ends and finish off the ends of the braid. So if you need to have a look at that, I'm going to put a link to it in the description box below. Otherwise, just finish off the ends, and then you're going to have your finished necklace. So now I've finished off both ends here, and I've also attached my findings, so my extended chain and my clasp there, lobster claw clasp, so it's ready to wear once the glue is dried completely there as well. So this is what it looks like, and like I mentioned as well, you can easily adjust the length of this, make it shorter or longer depending on what you want. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Now do feel free to check out my channel, and if you don't want to miss any future tutorials from me, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications as well. So I really hope you enjoyed this one though. Thank you so much for watching it, and I'll see you in the next one.